Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video, and welcome to what is the third of now my cooking videos. Now this is also kind of the third video in my little knife series that I've been doing. So to recap, so far I've kind of shown you what's in my knife set, kind of gone over some different the different types of knives that I have, and whether really you should be buying expensive knives, budget knives, gone over all that. The second video, which I'll link somewhere as well, I kind of went through how to properly hold each knife, kind of a little deep dive into each one, and some different ways, different knives you can use for cutting in some different scenarios, and why you want to use one knife versus another. And also in that video, I noticed that one of my knives was kind of a little bit dull, so that's going to lead me into this video right now, which is going to be showing you guys how to properly sharpen knives. Now I'm going to go over a couple methods, and then I want to kind of explain to you guys why I think there's only really one method for sharpening knives that everyone should know, especially, again, if you do this for a living. Everyone should know how to properly sharpen their own knives. So without further ado, let's dive right into that right now. I want to try to keep this video a little bit shorter than the last two. I know they've kind of dragged on a little bit longer than I would have wanted, but at the same time, I want to leave you guys with the most information that I think is necessary for each topic that we're going to be talking about. So, but like I said, sharpening knives shouldn't take that long really to explain how to do it. So let me just change the setup here a little bit differently, and we'll jump right into it. So you can see in front of me here, I have just a quick little setup. Now, like I mentioned, I have two different methods of sharpening knives. One that I think works really well that everyone should know, and one that's more for kind of a quick. So let's jump into the quick side here quickly, and I have just this kind of at-home, sit-in-your-drawer sharpener, which works pretty well, especially, if you're just at home, you don't really have a lot of time to spend sharpening, then, yeah, you can just quickly grab this thing, and I don't know if you're able to see here, but, yeah, you can't really see in the camera, but each slot has a number under it. So this one's number 1, this one's number 2, this one's number 3, and this one here is for scissors. I might get into that a little bit later, but we're going to focus on the knives for right now. So basically when it says 1, 2, 3, that's kind of the order that you want to follow when you're sharpening your knives. So number 1 is going to kind of, bring the sharpness back into your blade, and then 2 and 3 are basically to kind of fine tune, kind of getting rid of the edge, and then making your blade nice and sharp. So the quickest way to do this one, I'm going to just use my paring knife here as a quick demo. So to start with, hopefully you guys can see properly here. You start with number 1, you want to hold your knife, you want to go from the heel up to the toe, put it in there, gently pull it back, right, a couple times on each side, right, a couple times through one. Then you want to, typically you want to go and wipe it off, make sure there's not a whole bunch of dirt and stuff on it, because, it's metal on metal, it's kind of scraping away the steel to make new sharpness. Then you go to repeat with number 2 and number 3 all the way down until you have a finely tuned blade. The main method that I want to show you guys for sharpening knives here that you've probably seen is using a stone. Now I have this stone here, it kind of has two functions. So you see it has this first side, this black side you can hear. It's a little bit rougher, so this is basically what you can use for actually sharpening any of your knives. And then it has another side here, another kind of stone side, but use here, this one's a little smoother. And that's what you're going to do at the end for kind of fine-tuning, making sure everything's back to fully smooth and you have a nice edge on your blade. Now, one of the key things that you guys, I think, should know with stone sharpening is that, again, just like with your cutting board, you want to have a secure surface. Thankfully, my little kit here comes with some rubber non-stick pads on the bottom, so that when I have it on whatever surface, it doesn't easily move around. And the key thing to sharpening any knife on a stone is you want to have some kind of liquid. If you just put it dry, it's going to cause a lot of friction, and you can actually end up damaging your knife. So I've seen sometimes people will use oil, or just simply if I'm at home here, I just use some water. You don't want to super soak the stone, but you want to have enough kind of water on the blade and on the stone that you don't have a lot of friction and create heat, because again, that's not going to be good for your blade or in turn for your stone. So I have some paper towel here on the side. I'm just going to go get it really kind of damp, make sure the stone's wet, make sure my knife is wet, and then I'll come back and show you the proper methods. Okay, so you can see here I have a cloth. It's pretty wet. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze some water out onto the stone and kind of wet the stone. Again, I'm going to start with I'm going to use my chef knife for this demo here. Again, I'm just going to gently wet and really, I just want to wet just the blade part that I'm actually going to be sharpening. Do I need to wet the top of it? No, I'm not sharpening the top piece. There's no blade, there's no sharp bit there. So you just want to kind of wet the actual blade, and then you can hear, right, it's scraping, but the liquid on there is going to prevent it from actually scraping too much, and actually when you're trying to sharpen your blade, actually make things worse and ruin your blade. So to start off the sharpening process again, so make sure everything's a little bit damp. Always have whatever your wet thing is, whether it's oil, water, have it right beside you, because you're going to want to keep the stone wet at different times during the process. So the easiest way to start off this process, you want to take your knife, hold it kind of in both hands. So basically, as you were going to hold, as I mentioned before, hold to cut things, you want to firmly hold the knife on the bottom. You want to kind of bounce on the top. Now, the key to this is having it at a proper angle. You want to have your blade at a 45-degree angle whenever you're sharpening. And you know what? I'm going to get something to kind of give you a visual representation of how high a 45-degree angle is. Alright guys, so here's a neat little trick. When I was first learning how to sharpen knives, my mentor told me, you have to have it at a 45 angle, everything I've just told you, but I thought, well, without measuring it, how do I know kind of where the angle is and how to keep it for first timers? So the fun trick here is the angle, if you want to have a kind of a visual, is it's about as high as 3/4 stacked up. Now hopefully you guys can see them. I have 3/4 of my hand here. So if you're starting out, kind of stack them together, hold them on, put them on your stone, and kind of balance your knife on that. And pretty much whatever the angle, hopefully you guys can see, the angle that sits at is exactly how you want to sharpen your stone. So to get familiar with it, kind of stack up your quarters, and if you want to, kind of keep your blade on the quarters and gently go along. Now, as you get more and more used to the angle, obviously take the quarters off, learn how to hold the blade that way, and move on. But for anyone who's starting out for the first time, you're not quite sure how heavy the angle should be. Like I said, get 3/4. Go find some loose chain forever. Stack them up 3 high. Put them on your stone. Put your blade on top, and that angle there is exactly how you want to get going. All right. So with that little trick out of the way, now we can actually get into sharpening. So again, make sure your surface is kind of damp, and you have it at that angle. And then the easiest way to go is kind of gently hold your hand on top, and you want to just in smooth motions, kind of do the reverse of our little home handheld one. You want to go from tip to heel, right? So have it at your angle, tip to heel. Stone and blade are a little bit damp, and just simply go up like that. And I like to go right off the stone, that way I know I've got the whole blade. So just to show you the motion here one more time, guys. Right? Just like that. And again, you want to make sure you keep it nice, even pressure along the whole way. Like I said, come right off, that way you know you've gotten the whole blade. And then that's one side. Right, so with that little trick out of the way, now we can actually get into sharpening. So again, make sure your surface is kind of damp, and you have it at that angle. And then the easiest way to go is kind of gently hold your hand on top. And you want to just in smooth motions, kind of do the reverse of our little home handheld one. You want to go from tip to heel, right? So have it at your angle, tip to heel. Stone and blade are a little bit damp, and just simply go up like that. And I like to go right off the stone, that way I know I've got the whole blade. So just to show you the motion here one more time, guys. Right? Just like that. And again, you want to make sure you keep it nice, even pressure along the whole way. Like I said, come right off, that way you know you've gotten the whole blade. And then that's one side. All right, so when you flip your knife over, you can kind of go both ways, but I would definitely recommend that whichever way you start going is the way you go for both sides. So like I said, my knife is kind of on its left side. I've gone tip to heel. I'm gonna flip it onto the right side. I'm gonna do the exact same way. I'm gonna go tip to heel. Now, could you go the other way? Yes, you could, but just make sure that if you decide to go from heel to tip, that you're doing it consistently on both sides. So again, right side, same angle, right? Again, if you remember, 3/4 stacked high is gonna look roughly like this angle. Hopefully you guys can see there. So it's about a 45, not quite a 45-degree angle, but again, tip to heel, right along your stone this way a few times, and then you want to wipe your blade, then you want to check. You want it to be nice and sharp on kind of both sides consistently, and it's going to feel kind of rough at first, but this is when the other side of our stone comes into effect. So at this point, once you have your knife sharpened, it's feeling good. It's going to feel kind of rough. That's when you flip it over, and again, kind of wet the surface of your stone, wet your knife. Exact same deal before, that same angle. You want to go whichever way you've gone, you want to keep going that way. So in this case, we're going tip to heel. Same deal. You want to go on here. Now, you don't need to go as many times. It depends on how dull your knife is. If your knife is really, really dull, then you're going to want to do the sharpening side until it kind of feels nice and sharp. And then this side is really just the fine-tuning side. So once again, once your knife is kind of sharpened and rough, you just go along the smoothest side of the stone. It just really takes away all the edge off the side of your blade. And in the end, it's going to leave you with a nice sharp knife. Before I end the sharpening video, I just want to kind of give you another quick tip to a question that I used to have myself when I was starting out, and I've had other people ask me now that I've been doing this for a while, is A, can you, and B, do you need to sharpen your serrated knife? And the answer to both those questions is, in a short form, yes. Now, would you be going and sharpening it through here? No. Because the serrated knife has teeth on it, many people think, oh, I don't need to sharpen that. The teeth are always going to be there. Now, while in theory, yes, the teeth are never going to really go away. This is, of course, another sharp blade. And after a while, the teeth can dull down and lose their sharpness. So, to sharpen it, are you going to be putting it through something simple like this? No, because, again, this just goes straight through like so. So you're going to be completely stripping all the teeth off of it. So you never want to use one of these to sharpen a serrated knife or a bread knife. Your flat or smooth or pair knife, chef knife, sure, you can do one of these quickly all day. But overall, the best method for sharpening knives is always going to be on your stone. So same deal with the kind of your smooth blade knives. Same thing, same angle, just gently take your knife, go along there. Now, you don't have to worry about doing it as much, again, because it's just the teeth that have the sharpness on them. But to answer your questions, yes, you can and you should always sharpen your serrated knives as well. Exact same method on the stone as before, a couple times, and then go on the other side, smooth it out, and you're good to go. Before I go, guys, one small note. I mentioned before, you always want to keep your stone wet while you're sharpening, but you never want to put it away wet. So in the end, get a dry piece of paper towel or a cloth or something and always wipe it off before you store it, because you don't want to actually store it wet, because then the water can leak into the pores of the stone, maybe crack from the inside or just kind of diminish it. So little pro tip. When you're sharpening knives, make sure your stone is wet, but please, guys, before you put it away and don't use it for a while, make sure it's fully dry. Alright guys, and before I go from this whole knife sharpening video, I've shown you how to properly sharpen your knives with two methods. Like I said, I would definitely say if you learn how to do the stone method, that's going to be your best route going forward. And I think it's an important skill that everybody should know as well. Yes, the little handhold ones are great, especially if your knives are just kind of a little bit dull and maybe losing an edge. You can just fire your knife through this quickly and keep going. But I would say to properly sharpen all of your knives, you definitely want to use the stone method. If you don't have one, you can run out. You can get one of these pretty cheaply, again, at any kind of kitchen supply store. So I would say if you want to sharpen your knives, go get one of these, practice the methods I've shown you in this video, and just keep practice. That's going to be the best way to sharpen. Again, you kind of learn how your knives work, how the sharpening works. You can kind of fine tune it yourself for how sharp you want your knives to be personally, and you're going to, trust me, the stone is going to go a long ways. These guys can, after a while, they can kind of wear out. The blades of them can wear out, whereas your stone is typically never going to wear out at all. So you can have this for many years, sharpen hundreds of knives, your knives hundreds of times, and you're going to be good to go. Okay, so that's pretty much going to do it for this video. Again, I hope I kept this one a little bit shorter. Hopefully it was informative for you. I've had many people in the past, before I started doing these videos, ask me about how do I sharpen my knives. I've had people, since I've started this video, say, hey, I want to learn how to sharpen my knives. So there you go. Like I said, if you follow everything I showed you in this video, you should be good to go. The biggest thing is, if you want to be good at it, go out, get yourself a stone. Again, same thing. There's less expensive ones, there's more expensive ones. Typically with a sharpening stone, unlike the knives, I would say, if you can, go for the slightly more expensive one. The quality is going to be better, it's going to last you longer, and it's going to do just a little bit better job in sharpening your knives, which is the end goal. So with that being said, I hope this video was informative for you guys. Hopefully I kept it a little bit shorter. I urge you guys, if you want to learn how to sharpen knives, and this goes for, you know, kitchen knives, but any kind of big blade, you can use this same method of stones. Obviously bigger stones for bigger things, but just keep it strictly for kitchen knives, guys. Go get yourself a stone. Always have a steel kind of in your repertoire for kind of quick, you know, edge work with your knives. And just like that, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up. If you have any further comments, let me know in the comment section down below. I do read everything you guys post, and I'll be happy to answer questions there, or maybe in a future video. But just like that, guys, I'm gonna end this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.